Welcome to the Outer Realm with MicheleDerocher and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday night segment of The Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 FM from the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM from New Orleans. We're fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee who have been a part of our journey for the last several years. So thank you, Folgers. We couldn't do it without you, nor would we want to. Also, thank you, Justin Snicker, a.k.a. Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon, for the contribution of his time, his music, and his voice for the intro you just heard. He's an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, which can be found on all of your favorite music streaming platforms. Also, big thank you, Steve McGinnis, the artist behind our logos here. Thank you so much. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram. Also specializes in the horror genre, Halloween genre, but does great commission pieces of any sort. So tonight we welcome back, my friend Kevin, Dermot O'Doherty. He's got a new book out, Encounters on the Edge of the Etheric. It just sounds like it's just so high strangeness. It's just all in the title. So highly strange. I love it. And we're going to find out what he's been doing. And it's been interesting. It's going to be a very interesting segment. So people are chiming in. Hello, that girl. How are you? Hello, Patsy. Hello, Sherry. Z-Sun. Hello. Hello, Michael. Hello. Gosh, guys, this is great. This is making my way down. If I'm missing anybody, I apologize. Hello, Janie. Oh, my goodness. Okay. And Mark, all the way here from the UK. Hello, champion. Ironically, so's Kevin. Your neck of the woods. Also champion. That's not easy having to do a 2-hour show like that. Hello, Holly. Hello. So, oh my goodness. So everybody's here. Gang's all here. Oh, we still got more people coming in. So you know the drill, guys. We will keep up. I will flash your comments. We will get to questions and such as we move along. But as our guest, we go to the beat of his drum, as I always say. So without further ado, welcome back, Kevin O'Doherty. Hello.
Hello, Michelle and everyone. Thank you for having me back on. It's really great pleasure and great to be here.
Oh,
in the heat.
I know. I'm sorry. The heat is terrible. It's bad out our way as well.
Yeah.
So,
no, it's great to be back on. And the book's been quite a journey, really. It's sort of took me down a different direction from what I would have expected to go down. I've been a spiritualist medium most of my life.
Yes.
I run a spiritualist church. I've demonstrated clairvoyance all over Britain, England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales. I've never been further than that, really, to demonstrate. But I have been on various shows around the world, and also been on local radio. I used to do the psychic surgery thing, which is a phone in.
Yeah.
And I've done some TV as well. My background professionally is in broadcast medium, professional filmmaker. I used to manage a TV studio. So I've done quite a few things, and aside from that, I've also stacked shelves for a living as well, and got a few calluses on the hand. I've done various jobs, so
Yes.
But my love really is in the creative side of things. But I've always had this sort of I call it the curse sometimes. Saw spirit from a young age, and had experiences that I couldn't really understand until I went into a spiritualist church at the age of 18. Then the mediums started to describe things to me. They would give me messages and they would say, like, for instance, they described someone who I may have seen appear to me. I think, oh yeah, I remember that person. I saw that in a kind of vision, which up until then I really thought were just hallucinations. Never really. I didn't like them in particular because they're not always pleasant when you
Yeah.
just see things. You're living in normie world, and then
Yes.
suddenly, people from another time, another space, or high weirdness or strangeness. These things start happening. You think you're a bit crazy. Some people say that ship sailed with me, but maybe you do need to be a bit sort of head in the clouds, feet on the ground.
I agree.
Um,
I agree.
Basically, my approach to it, I like. I was a reluctant medium. I ended up running the Spiritualist Church in the end, and then when mediums would cancel, I ended up taking the services myself. So gradually developed that way, because other mediums are saying, you're a medium, you should be taking the service yourself, should be demonstrating clairvoyance.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of threw it up to the spirit world and said, well, okay, then let's see what happens. And things that I was saying seemed to ring true, these messages I was giving to people seemed to have great relevance to them. And then gradually over the years, you come to understand how it works.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a book called The Psychic and Spiritual Awareness Manual, which was published 11 years ago now. It's still in print. And that basically outlined all the things that I could do, because I used to do workshops, auras and energies, how to discern spirits, working with colors, healing, crystals, divination, psychometry, all those kind of things. And I think it's essential, because I was taught by some very now since passed over mediums, some old school mediums who were very good and sat for spirit from a young age, because I had skills passed on to me from them. I think we've got to keep these things going. And I don't know about you, but I look around our world and I don't see the teachings anymore as much, or the quality of the teachings. People want more of a quick fix rather than sitting for spirit or waiting. They want result now. So I think we must resist that, because everything's done in spirit's time rather than our time. I think that's one of the disciplines really of becoming an instrument of divine will, shall we say.
I agree with you. I think you have to take the time. There is no quick fix for that part of a journey. There really isn't. On this side of the world, we have a place called Lilydale.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And it's the largest spiritual community on this side of the world. I have friends there who live there, who practice there. I've spent time there. I always say, for me, it's a place to decompress. I think people with mediumship, you think you know so much, but you get bombarded pretty regularly, even just through everyday stuff. It's not just necessarily from people, but you have to find a way to decompress and just come down a little bit. And I think what you're saying is going and even taking a course or just sitting and listening to others who are tuned in. I think it's like homework. I think it's something that we need to keep up with.
True. Yeah. There's also a problem, I think, with what I've noticed in Britain in particular is you go to these centres and places, and it's really just pretty superficial. It's not. There's no real teaching there. There's no. I can't explain it really. There's no people don't want to understand. So if you talk about something like, say, for instance, I gave a message out recently to a woman. I said because I could see her mental and emotional aura, which is the aura, the nimbus aura around the head. And I saw a disturbance there slightly, so I knew she had a problem on a mental and emotional, in a mental emotional area. And I thought that was an outside agency, someone putting pressure on her and emotionally. And what I found was that she didn't understand the idea. Neither did the people in the church really understand what the mental and emotional aura was. Whereas I know from years ago, going to a spiritualist church, most people would understand some of those basic things about auras. That, like, for instance, in the spirit or they'd see a color, they wouldn't understand. But today, people don't really understand how it works, how the energies work. Not the best example, but sometimes I think of the gulf between, giving a message that really is good for someone to have, and them kind of being stuck on the idea of not knowing, well, I've got this big ball around my head then, sort of thing, And which I kind of explained, look, if you look at the old Renaissance paintings, you see a nimbus gloriosity around the heads of saints and martyrs. And that's possibly the Renaissance painters were closer to the spirit and they could actually see that. I don't know, but that's a real aura, and it contains the mental and emotional.
And people wouldn't think that's what it is they're looking at.
Yeah, so things like that, or they tend to not fully understand things. Like even when you do a workshop somewhere, I have to kind of dumb it down a bit compared to, say, in the 90s. I've noticed just in a generation there's been a massive change. And I blame society and social media and things for that.
Whereas the Victorians were all about it, weren't they? Like spiritualism was like the thing.
Yeah, they
of the Victorian era.
Years, and the irony of it is I'm a kind of reluctant medium. It kind of was forced into my life in some ways. So that's one of the battles we have. There's an old Chinese saying that one is taught in accordance to one's ability to learn. Sometimes people, you try to explain, even using the words of the spirit, to explain something to them, and they don't understand it. Like, for instance, that woman, I said to her, she's from Scotty Road area of Liverpool. She said, yes. I said, there would be Welsh links going back in your family to Wales. She said, well, I'm not sure of those right now. Then I explained to her about that there was basically a male influence in her life who was, kind of really stopping her going to the church and everything else. I mean, that's what I was picking up, but you have to be diplomatic about things. So I packaged it the way the spirit wanted me to package it. And then people come up to me later and said, you were spot on there, but to other people around, they wouldn't, that didn't sound like a very good message, but I know I got through. I know I got the right message through. So it can be a bit sort of, there's this thing, not the best example, but when I was at Waterloo Church, there was an old lady we had who used to come to church, and she said, my family have stolen everything off me, she said. And she used to sit on a bench down by the beach. We called it Stella's bench. Sit there with her little coat waiting for the church to open, So we would pretend that someone had left a coat in the church and it's never going to find a home. So, because we knew she wouldn't take it. But that's all she ever said. She said, my husband died many years ago, probably when she was about 18, she said, and I'm just waiting for him, that's all. And when I die, I'm going to be reunited with him. And I'll just come back, she said. I'll come back to my family and say, I'm here. She said, but I won't give them any message. And that's what she said. And she said that so often. Anyway, it was the very last day in the church before it was closed down. And I went to this woman and I said, I've got a woman here. I said, this is your mother. I said, your mother in the spirit world? She said, yeah. I said, she's just standing here. I said, she's been very reluctant. I said, she won't say anything. She just wants you to know that she's here. And I said, was she skeptical about communicating with the spirit? Because sometimes the eye doesn't see itself. You're not omniscient to everything. Yeah. And I thought, I've just got to give this message. And afterwards in the tea room, she got a bit stroppy. She said, actually, my mother used to run this church many years ago, she said. I'm surprised you couldn't pick up on her better. She said, my mother was Stella. And when she said that, I thought Stella did exactly what she said she'd do. She'd come through, let her know she's there, and that was it. And that also told me that she did indeed steal her property and a house and everything off her. And that's why she was in such a distressed state. I mean, I looked after my mum and dad. You wouldn't leave them that way. It told its own story. And sometimes the work of the spirit can be a bit difficult to, deal with. Sometimes you have to have a black belt in mental karate. Sometimes you want to say something to someone. But her daughter had a horrible vibration, terrible. But but to everyone there on the night, it looked like that was a terrible message of failure. It looked bad. Yeah, it was 100% accurate, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's
So,
crazy, isn't it?
you have to take all that with it as well. When you
Yeah.
do the work, it can wear you
You
down.
can't please everybody, unfortunately, you know.
You
You
know,
just you can't.
you get people outside smoking a cigar. That was a lot of rubbish, wasn't it? And it's like, but they're not always privy to what's gone on. They don't know.
Yeah.
So the mediumship opens up to, hi Zun, if I pronounced that right.
Mhm.
So, it opens you up to things and that people outside aren't always privy. And sometimes you have to try and articulate it,
Mhm.
which is why I don't do it as much as I used to.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I began to become quite successful. I was booked everywhere. I was on the
Mhm.
radio all the time. And this tremendous pressure. And like I go to Wales, for instance, and I was talking about this recently, and they'd spend about 10 minutes bigging me up to the congregation saying, this guy's this guy's that. I'd be sitting there thinking, oh no, just introduce me, that's it.
Yeah.
And if people are going to be expecting something amazing, and it puts you under a lot of pressure, especially he's on the radio and you may listen to him each week on the psychic the psychic surgery, on the phone
Yeah.
in and stuff. And it's really great to have him here tonight, and they go on like this. And then they big you up into something. You really just want to, lead by example, because you might fail. It's not always successful. Sometimes it's a difficult job to do.
Mhm.
So there's all that to deal
Well,
with.
you're only as good as the spirit too. If the spirit decides I'm not talking, that's
Yeah.
like crickets when you get there. You're kind of just standing around going, all right, this is that, but you have I mean, even before we get to your book and what led you to all of this, you've been on a bit of a personal, I guess, change as well in your journey. Do you
Yeah.
want to talk about that? I find it fascinating personally.
Well, I had people, it's high strangeness, but I'm convinced more than last time we spoke, the more I've
Mhm.
researched it. I suffered what's called a fairy stroke, where you have an encounter with the Faery Folk, you
Yeah.
meet them, and then you're struck dumb, you're
Yeah.
struck down. And, if you read, there's so many legends, so many reports and accounts. Jacques Vallée has done a work on it,
Yeah.
The
Yeah, he's
Secret
good.
College. Uh,
Mhm.
not Masters of Deception. I can never get the name of that title of that book. It's never ever sunk in. Masters or something of Deception. That one,
Mhm.
and his other work, and he's bang on the money with that because he's
Mm.
absolutely spot on. I woke up. I went back to Ireland to my father's cottage.
I remember the last time you were on the show, actually.
Right, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and I knew things weren't going to go well on the trip anyway. My father had just passed, and I kept
Yeah.
saying to my family, I don't know what's going to happen to me over on Valentia Island. I said,
Mhm.
but something big's going to happen. I said, it's going to be the challenge of my life. I don't know what it is.
Uh-oh.
So, yeah. And when I got there, the doors are opening in the cottage and everything, all kinds of stuff going on. And so I woke up in the middle of the night and an out-of-body experience, and I saw this like a gargoyle type creature. Like that wouldn't fit out of place on the side of a church, which has
Mhm.
got me thinking, actually, are they based on real creatures? So I spoke to a reverend about this. He said, oh, no, they're just there for protection. I was thinking, I'm not really so sure.
Yeah. Hmm.
You're going back 400, 500, 600, maybe 1,000 years with some of these figures, and they're pretty terrifying. It was just like one of those figures. So it had these long sort of pincers or something, like tentacles, and it had at the Atlas nexus on the nape of the neck, the Atlas
Hmm.
bone, which is the gate, long been known as the gateway to other worlds. It was doing this thing where it was like sabotaging the Matrix or something. I thought I'm being sabotaged, and that was the word, sabotage.
Mhm.
And I got a fright and thought, I've got to stop this. So I shot back into my body and I shooed this thing off in the bed, and woke up, I had the heavy breathing and thinking, don't know what that was, but it's pretty spooky out here, Even though I've
Mhm.
been to the island many times and know it very well.
Mhm.
So this is a different trip. And then a couple of days later, I woke up and I had, I was, like they say, struck dumb. I couldn't move. I was on the left side. I had severe pain just here, and I was very wasn't able to move properly, and all around me was this miasma of evil,
Yes.
kind of mocking and laughing, and I thought, I don't like this at all. This is my father's house, and this is where we're from.
Mm-hmm.
And I took exception to it. So eventually, during the course of the day, I kind of made a recovery. By evening, I was more or less able to walk around, and I had a little go in the car, see if I could still drive the car, because in the UK, most of the cars are manual, so you need your left for the foot, for the clutch, and the gear, the stick shift. It's not like an automatic, so I had to make sure I could operate the gears and the clutch. So and of course the brakes. So I did a little turn around and stuff, and seemed all right. And then it's a straight road down to Chapeltown at the centre of the island. I thought, well, if I go down there, I go to the pub, have something to eat, have a drink, and at least I'll be around people in case the thing kicks off again, because I knew I wasn't well. So I went down the road, and I noticed I was hitting the hedge on the left side. I was scraping the car along the hedge. I thought, I need to be in the middle of the road. So I corrected the steering, and I ended up in a ditch on the other side of the road. And I couldn't get out without climbing out of the passenger window. And again, all these things kind of swirling around. I don't know if I've got. I don't know if could we do a screen share at all?
Yeah, of course.
I haven't done it on here. So
okay, if you go down, there's that little TV with the plus in it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me get rid of mine here. Stop screen. Okay. So if you click on that, whatever is on your screen, if you just go share screen.
Yeah.
Okay. So whatever is on your screen, you just click on window, like it's the number, we'll see that box that comes up. It'll
the blue box that says share screen. Click on that. Yeah.
Okay. Now you have 3 selections. I always use window. So whatever's sitting on your window, like on your screen, if you click on it, it'll come up and you can share it.
Okay, I wonder. Let's just see if I can see this. That so. I don't know if you can see that at all.
It has not come up, so you have to share it, and then I'll bring her up.
Okay.
Click on whatever picture. When you click on the window, just click on the picture that comes up in there that you want to share.
Okay, let's see.
It's probably the easiest way if it's on your screen. Or put it in Messenger and I'll go grab it. It's whatever you would say.
Okay, so share that there.
There it is. Okay.
So let's see.
There we are. Okay, you got all kinds of stuff there. There we are.
If
there.
So can you see that?
Yeah, it's right on the screen there. So whatever you pick.
That's the cottage, and
yeah,
this is the room where it all happened. But as you can see, it's quite a nice place. That's the view out the front door.
I love it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So that's at night. That's the same view, but at night. When I was there, so inside when I first got there, Michelle, I noticed there were all these kind of crucifixes and Madonnas everywhere, and I thought, oh my God, they've had the priest out here. It was just so heavy, the atmosphere in there. So this is the garret room where it happened. So let's just
if you just double click open whatever one you want, it's fine.
Are you able to see these yet?
Okay. Yeah, we can see them.
So I phoned my sister and I said, the front door keeps opening. I said, so I looked out the window and my courtesy light kept coming on the car. So I said, the courtesy light's on the car. This is actually this. I'm sorry, it's black and white because it was used in the book. So I had to redo it for black and white. So as you can see, it's twilight there and the front door's open. And this was continually happening all the time. So I said, I'll go down and look at the car. So again, that was me just playing the guitar and the front door open again. So several times. That's actually my father's house. So when I went down, this was taken at the time. This is the car door open, and not just the courtesy light on, but the car door was open. it was like the Amityville horror, you know, get out.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
So I ended up in a ditch down there, which is the car. The actual crash is the angle's a bit steeper than the photograph looks. So kind of staying, and that's where I'd ruptured the tank. So, but as you can see, these swirly things, like these spritey things, were flying around. So I tried to capture them on the camera, and that was the best I could get. So then I ended up. I was very confused. I thought I was like really under attack, and I ended up in one of the fields. And above my head, there was this kind of stroboscopic flash, and I looked up, and there were these two orbs, golden orbs, flying in a figure of 8. Just flying around, and I thought to myself, "Oh no, not you guys again," because I've had encounters like this before, but I'd never seen them so clear. So this is a mock-up, to be clear, right? This is, but that's actually the sky, the moon I took the night before. That's actually a shot of the moon from the house. So
crazy.
Yeah, so the crazy sky, and that's after my car got pulled out.
Yeah.
So I kind of got lost, and it gave my phone put me here at the telegraph line, which is the connection between America and Europe, where they laid the first transatlantic telephone cable, which when I phoned the police, you see, because of that crash, and I needed rescuing. So the coordinates placed me there, which I thought was very strange. And those are the Skelligs where they filmed the Star Wars movie. Luke Skywalker's sort of.
That's very cool.
So anyway, there are lots of these kind of haunted sort of places. So I ended up seeing a figure like this. Now this is a mock-up that I've made. No face, no hands, no feet. I thought it was a monk at first.
Yeah.
There was a clan of them came to visit me in the field. So when I came home, I came across this picture, which is about 500-600 years old. And whoever's done this picture, I think, has seen what I saw. You've got the moon, and you've got this figure, and you've got this castellated ruin sort of thing. I think this is this is in Ireland, an old plate. And I think whoever has drawn this has either seen it or is, rendering a real account, because that's exactly what you see. It's the same energy. It's very spooky, very dark, very gothic.
Yeah.
And not something you really want anything to do. So this was one of the Fey barrows that I went around, and I sensed you can sense the Faery Folk there. You've got to kind of be a bit courteous when you're around these things. You get people playing on them and stuff, but you can sense the energy there. That I wonder, what I was told by an old Irishman there. I spoke to him, and he said, that the Fae didn't build this. He said, we did, to keep them in. The fear is with us, not with them. That's what he said.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
I love it. Old oral history.
Yeah. So, and that's another one that you just stumbling through over the heath and heather and the moss and all that. And you come across these, like an Eton mess sort of blancmange thing, or something like a trifle. And, but again, this is a Fey barrow. So, so I actually encountered this guy in my woods. So I took this picture, and there's a fairy wood where I live, and I kept getting drawn. And when I was there, I took this photo. It's not brilliant, but it's a blow up, obviously.
Yeah.
But a guy who I know frequents the wood, he said, I see a black fairy there. He said, like a wolf man or something. So
that's crazy. That's a whole different thing.
Yeah, and I said to him, well, have a look at this. He seems quite happy, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So I seem to be getting led on these things. So if I come out of there, is that okay? So
yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for that. Sorry, I didn't want to bore everyone with all that stuff. But
it's nice to see the image of the location you're talking about. At least that's very interesting. It's lovely. I love the whole atmosphere with it.
Yeah, it's very dark, very gothic, very gloomy. Dark enchantment is the epitome of what it is. So when these wraith things come around you, they have you can't really converse with them. You have to converse with them clairvoyantly. So, but the orbs were the first thing. So I spoke to the orbs. I was stuck where I was. I couldn't make any progress on the heath. It's I'm on a mountainside, by the way, so it's pretty treacherous, the terrain. And it's night, and the mist has come in, and it's very, very. You got this Atlantic mist, so it's proper horror sort of film, sort of thing. And anyway, they. So I looked up, and I've seen these things before, these golden discs, and I wasn't going anywhere, couldn't go anywhere, stuck on the heath.
Yeah.
So I sat down and I said, okay, what do you want? And they said, redemption is what they said. I said,
Wow.
redemption. I said, redemption for what? They said, we're sorry for what we've done to you and many like you. That's what they said.
Oh, wow.
And I said, well, if you're sincere, I said, you'll show me the way out. I don't know my way off this mountain. I'm stuck, because the thing is, Michelle, I got to a point where I do know the island very well, and I got to a point where there is a gate. Now I went back at Christmas, and sure enough, there is a gate there. But on the night, and I swear to God, I could not see the gate. I was standing before the gate. There's a house just here, and the gate. There's actually two gates, and on the night I couldn't see. They'd blinded me to this. Because I could have just climbed over the gate and been back on the road, and I would have known my way back, you see. But they were determined to really lose me, I get lost, where I can't be found. So the police came out, and I said, I'm stuck in the field. So I sent them those coordinates, which I now realise were wrong. So that's probably why they couldn't find me. So anyway, they abandoned me. Anyway, they left.
Wow.
And, which they shouldn't have done, really. I mean, in the UK, the police have an obligation to make, even if you say you're okay, they have to find out, to do a welfare check, make sure you are okay.
Yes.
Where clearly I wasn't, So anyway, these but when these orbs came, I knew that I was going to be alone for a long time, because they won't appear like that if anyone's going to happen along. So once the police left, that's when the orbs came in the timeline. And I thought, oh, this is going to be a long night.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so I'm going nowhere. They're obviously going nowhere.
Yeah.
So I said to them, don't try any of that abduction stuff. I said, we've met before. I said, I'm not a child anymore. I said, and, I wrote the book on the Nag Hammadi, which has got the archons in it.
Yes. We've talked about that.
I mentally uploaded the book to them. I said, that's my book and you're in it. I said, so don't start any of that messing with me tonight. Because, I'm not in the mood. I said, I've worked hard for this holiday. And I finally got back into the cottage, which I always wanted to do. And this has happened, and you're responsible. And they said they were sorry. So for what they've done.
So they're sorry. So they're asking for redemption, and they essentially, so they led you out, or you found your own way out, and
No, what they did was the two orbs, one moved off in a line of travel, then the second one followed it, and the other one moved a bit further, and the other one followed it in a line, creating a line of travel. And I said, well, I'll follow you. I said, but if you lead me the wrong way, because it's pretty treacherous out there. It's an island off the southwest coast of Ireland. It's in the Atlantic.
Wow.
So it's not like you can just call an ambulance or something.
No.
So I said, if you lead me the wrong way, I said, then that redemption stuff you're asking for, I said, that's going to put you further and further down into the pit, into the inferno, wherever it is you're from. So they said, so I followed them, and jumping ahead, I've actually since been back and I've done the Google map thing and everything.
Yeah.
And they actually took me onto the most treacherous part of the island.
Wow. So sorry, but not sorry.
Yeah. They just, as Valet says, they cannot be trusted.
No.
You can't trust anything they say, but I had no option. So anyway, I said, I'll help you. I said, if you show me the way out, I'll do what I can. I said, I don't have a church anymore. I don't have the ear of anyone. I said, of any importance. And they said, but, you listen. The spirit listens to you, is what they said, and the spirit doesn't listen to us anymore. We're too far down, they said. We can't communicate. We're so far down in the pit of Tartarus, or whatever you want to call it, that's very difficult for us to communicate. But you walk with the spirit. The spirit listens to you. If you say something on our behalf, like an ambassador or something, we know that message will go to God or to the spirit world, and they'll know of our presence. And so I
And this is after leading you down a treacherous path. They want you to put in a good word for them, essentially.
Yeah. So what they said was what I saw, the revelation that I went back to the Garden of Eden, and I saw how they've deceived us from the start by, like they did with Adam and Eve, trust us. If you don't do as we say, you will die. And that's what they were saying to me. If you don't follow us, you'll die. We know what's ahead. You don't. 20 minutes time, you could fall down a sinkhole or a crevasse or something, and you won't be found. You could break your leg or something. They're putting all this fear stratagem into my head. They say, we know this terrain. We know we can lead you out. So, but still very, very cautious, thinking that you should never bargain with the devil.
No, but they seem to have put you in a position where you were forced to trust them.
Yeah.
Right. Which sort of gives them the opportunity to prove themselves, perhaps.
Yeah, and they failed miserably. Or maybe that's just the way they are. I think that it's a bit like Aesop's fables with the frog on the back of the crocodile takes him across the river, and halfway across, the crocodile flips the frog up in the air and eats him.
Yes.
So if you know that one, and the frog said, "But you said you wouldn't do it," and the crocodile says, "I'm sorry, it's in my nature."
Yeah.
And that's what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
That's what you're dealing with.
Yes.
You can't be trusted. So then I was very fatigued by then, and I thought, I'm very dehydrated, haven't eaten all day. And so what I did is I decided to take a risk. I thought I need a rest or something. And then I saw what I thought was someone coming down the lane on a bike. They had one of these torch lights, like an LED.
Yeah.
So I called to them. I thought, well, it's Ireland. The first language out there is Gaelic. I don't speak very much Gaelic, but I can say hello. And so I said, "Rare Matatu," so I'm calling to him, which is, "Hello, how are you? How's things? Connor's a tattoo there, And nothing. So anyway, they just pulled up alongside me at the hedge, and I said, "Can you hear me?" And there was nothing. They were just standing there, and with this light sort of swaying side to side, and it was lighting up the road and everything. And I said to him, "The cat got your tongue." So anyway, I said, "Can you show me the way out? You've got a light." And then I realized I'm dealing with a spook. It's not a person.
Oh boy!
And it was like that. What I've just shown you, that the wraith.
Yeah.
With the no hands, no feet, no face.
Yeah.
And it's just swaying like gossamer, and it's like as if they're in this etheric bubble of liquid, and they just float. And it's really, it's a very strange thing to watch. And they have this light about them, like a Christmas tree light, and the lights that come off them. And I don't fully understand that, because I couldn't get over the hedge, And so I said, so I looked up at these two orb things, which you would say were ET. And I saw a link then between what we call Faery Folk and ET.
Which there are links. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this is slowly coming about now. People are starting to understand this. But I'd never, because people who studied Fae never studied ET. And people who study UFOs and ETs and all that sort of stuff don't study Faery Folk. But essentially what I've found since is they do the same job. They abduct humans. You raise one of their children, and there's missing time involved sometimes. Look at the case of Michael Leahy Leahy, and there's all kinds of cases where people have gone missing and have come back into society and led a normal life, but they haven't really been the same. And then once you get into those stories, there was one in Listowel down the road from where I was at the time, famous case. And but these are really recorded, and I realized then that these are powerful cases of truth, not fantasy or myth or legend. They're actually accounts of what's happened to people. And for all people, what people may say about rural Irish people, they're actually very clever, you know. They're the butt of a lot of jokes, but they're actually very bright people, very sharp, very clever, and very switched on to things. You don't really meet a thick Irishman, you know. You never really meet someone a stupid Irishman. It's very rare. I'm not saying they don't exist, but they are very clever out there. So anyway, the Faery Folk have this. So then the relationship between the two things, and Jacques Vallée covers this in I've forgotten what book it is. I keep mentioning Jacques Vallée, but
no, he's brilliant for sure.
Yeah, well, he fell out with the ET community, didn't he? With the exopolitics.
Yes.
Because he said, hang on a minute, you know, these do the same job, and you know, they pre-exist us in some way. And he said he put them more local. He said, it doesn't make sense. They have these small craft and they're from another galaxy, you know. Basically, he wasn't saying this, but he was saying it in a roundabout way. Where are the toilets and kitchens, you know? So you need you need a mothership or something to navigate those kind of distances. So like with the archons and stuff, they're within the earth. So I thought, so I said to this wraith, I said, where have you come from? And he took me to Yocon Mountain, which is just a bit down the road. It's on the side where the cottage is. It's the slope up to the left is Yocon Mountain. He showed me a node on top of the mountain. I've never been up the mountain, so I didn't really know what it looked like. He showed me a node, what we call a node at the top. He said, we come out of there. He said, we live in the mountain. I said, well, I know Yocon Mountain. I said, I've circumnavigated, I've walked around it, never been up to that bit. I said, but I know well enough to know that you don't live in it. So that is not an inhabited mountain. And I didn't believe him. I thought another deception, you know. So eventually I took a risk. I said to the spirit world, I said, look, I'm going to have to go to sleep. I said, but if I go to sleep, I know I enter their realm, the subconscious, where they have dominion. I said, I need you to wake me up. I said to the spirit world, I said, they're telling me I'm going to die tonight, that they're here to collect me. And the wraith is there, and he wants, he's been sent to, basically collect me. And I said to the spirit world, all I want to know is, am I going to die tonight? Yes or no? Spirit world come back and said, no, don't listen. You're going to survive this, and you need to write a proper account of it. We're showing you this as part of your journey. We're revealing these things to you. So I never had the help and the trust of the spirit, because if ever it meant anything, I said to the spirit world, it's got to mean something now. If all my work means anything, it must mean something right now in this moment. They said, no, you're going to survive. So I knelt down on the heath and I put my little coat over my head and I went to sleep. And then I met with the wraith at the side of the hedge, and he said, come this way. And I thought, I knew I'd meet you, mate. I thought, I knew I'd meet you. So anyway, he took me up to Yocon Mountain to the top, and took me through the node, and we went right down into the earth, maybe 2-3 miles, maybe 7 miles, I don't know. Not that deep, a matter of not hundreds of miles, but miles. And I went down, not like a kind of a shaft, as it were, and ended up with, I said, I saw this city down there. And it's so big and vast down there. It's like the poorest layer, the poorest caverns of the litho layer, if you like.
Yes.
But, and it's on a vast scale. I saw this city, and there was millions of them. And they said, this is where we live. They said, come with me. And I said, no, I'm not entering in, because I felt I mightn't come out. because I swear to God, they do have a power. And as Jesus says in the Apocryphon of John, be careful when you enter their power. And I kept ringing in my head. I thought, no, I've got to be careful here. And strangely enough, on a ridge there, I saw the figure of Anubis, about 15 feet tall. And he just looked at me. And there was a communication there. Like, he knew I was there. And I wasn't sure about going past Anubis. And I would say Anubis is a real thing.
Well, because the guardian, he guards the passageway to the underworld.
That's
so
right.
That's kind of freaky when you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, is he going to let me back out, though? You know,
yeah.
I mean, he's pretty big. He's about 15 feet tall. And some people call him the jackal-headed god, but having looked at him pretty up close, he's got the head of an African wolf. And you know the thing I spoke,
kind of like a dog man.
Which is well, you know, the which is a kind of, it's a jackal sort of head, but it's a boxy sort of head, very boxy, and he's very tall, and he's not the kind of person who you gossip with. You wouldn't say to Anubis what kind of day have you had. It's like an automaton. He's like a machine. He has a job to do.
Yeah,
intelligence. He's a thing, a mechanism, if you like, of into the afterlife.
Yeah.
He's very real. I saw him very, very real. No, this was never ever part of my thinking, but I recognized him as Anubis.
Well,
so
Wayne says he probably knew you were not in spirit form, that you were still part of the living realm.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and that I could still run the other way, you know.
Yeah.
So I went thus far and no further, enough to see the city, and that they had a society down there. They had a transport system. They had a city system. A society, if you like, an order. But I don't think what I picked up from them was that they don't really have small talk like we do. They don't speculate about things. They don't speculate about where they've come from. They don't theorize about the universe or stuff like that. They know what they are, where they've come from, and why they're here. And they are kind of like creatures, for want of a better way of putting it. And even jumping back to the hedge, you know, talking to the wraith, I looked at it and I thought, I'm not dealing with a proper human here. I'm dealing with what you might call a creature in human form. Super intelligent, by the way, but a thing. So this is all going to be in the new book anyway, the treatise, where I kind of go a bit more into the analysis or the psychic science of it, if you like. And I've had downloads from the spirit world about it as well. So the other thing about the hedge was I kept thinking, well, so what happened then was they came from everywhere. There was, I don't know how many, maybe 15 of these things came from every direction down the slope of the mountain, and they lit up a house. And when I went back in December, there is indeed a house there. And the only reason I knew that house was there was because they lit it up. They were really there on the road. So I didn't know that the house was there. So the things that they lit up were revealed to me. It's like someone having a torch, you know, and that really showed me that I was in the physical world looking at these things, and they had materialized, albeit in an ether form. I don't think with the wraith, I don't think I could have touched something that was solid. I think he appeared solid, and his light was real. Because, you know, I used to manage a TV studio. I know a thing or two about lighting. It's what you call narrow band spectrum light, like an LED sort of light. It's very cold, and it has a very narrow sort of frequency, if you like. And as they came down, the light came through the hedge, and the shadows became long. You see, and they were shining through the hedge into the field and onto me. So those were things that I couldn't see properly in the dark. And this all the time, you got these two orbs flying around in a kind of analema. And every now and then I'd engage with them and say, "You enjoying this, are you?" So I said, "So you sent these in?" I asked them, I said, "Have you sent these in? Are these supposed to scare me, these figures of horror? Because it doesn't work." I said, "There's nothing that can scare me here." You know, I found them quite pathetic in that respect, because they said, well, we drive most people insane. I think most normies would probably have, what at that point, because it was very, very macabre, very, very spooky. And these another thing I saw my sister coming down the road. They can take on the form of people that
They mimic,
I was walking the dog, and I thought, I've spoken to my sister just before, and that was them getting into the core matrix of my soul, reconstructing an image of my sister and projecting it back to me. It freaked me out, but it alarmed me a little bit, to be honest with you, because I thought, I don't want them going after anyone I have a high connection with. Just keep this with me. This is between us. I was saying, don't engage with anyone outside of us, because I'd hate them to go and haunt my sister, or something like that, or her to have this experience, because it's deeply, deeply frightening, I think, for most people. But it's only because of my spiritualist background and things I've been involved in that I was able to manage it, And I know it's high strange, and it's all out there, and it's kind of, it's a big story and all that, but it happened. So I'm going to, there's a company in this part of the world who they've got a really good name. I used to work with the police, and they've got a good name for doing lie detector tests. So I'm going to take a lie detector test on this account. I'm going to publish it in the book, because I think that's always what's missing with high strangeness. Why don't people pay the money, get a lie detector test? Say, I know they're not infallible, we're told, but I still think they're pretty reliable, I'm going to get a lie detector test. Plus, I'm going to go into hypnotic regression as well. I have a friend who's a powerful past life hypnotist, regression hypnotherapist, and she's very good. She's done me before, and because there's other stuff around it. So anyway, these creatures, these wraiths and things. You got the orbs, and you got a clan of wraiths now around me, or Faery Folk, the tall type. The ones that we look at in Shakespeare's time, I think they're often just a construct that they appear on your hand and things like that. I have seen them that small. I haven't said that, but I think the real Fae are the tall ones, about 6-7 feet tall, and they're pretty stately and imposing. And they mean business when they come for you. I can tell you now, they mean business, and they don't like leaving empty-handed. They came for me that night, and they were really not happy at their failure. So
could they be that, because I envision them, the tall fae. Do you think people may be mistaking them for, let's say, like a tall white or a tall gray because of the stature?
Yeah, I would say they're linked in some way. I think some of the creatures I've seen, some of the fae I've seen, have been, since this has happened to me, it's kind of totally opened me up to a lot of experiences. And I've seen various types of what we call fae. And there's a crossover, between creatures and types. And I think the occupants of the flying discs that we see, and or the interterrestrial phenomena, if you like, the abduction scenario, and the tall, they appear, the fae can also appear as very beautiful. And I've seen that as well, where when I went up to Scotland, I don't know if anyone knows of the so my journey took me up to Aberfoyle, to Robert Kirk, who's the fairy minister, and just in short, he was a Episcopalian, I think, or Presbyterian minister at the church, and he was the seventh son. He had said to have second sight, and he wrote a thing called the Fairy Commonwealth, which is a very famous book about all the fae folk. He collated all the stories. He was a scholar, and I think I have a link with him in some ways, in that we both ran a church. We were both psychic. He was a seventh son, and we're both kind of scholarly. And he was professional, whereas I'm not. I did the Nag Hammadi. He translated. He was the first one to translate the Bible into Gaelic.
Wow.
So he's quite a formidable character. So I went up to his town. Anyway, he's rumored to have been killed by the fae on Doon Hill for revealing their secrets. So anyway, in May, just gone, it was the 333rd anniversary of his passing, the 14th of May. So I thought, well, 333, I've got to go. So I got in my car, drove all the way to central Scotland, which is quite a journey, by the way. And I went to the lowlands. It's in Stirlingshire, a little town in the middle. It's surrounded by hills and mountains. Very beautiful. Not changed much since he was there. His church is still there. And what I did, I decided to, I asked the spirit world, said, look, there's all this stuff where people are saying that he met with the Faery Folk, he went into the underworld and he ate and drank with them and all these kind of things, we danced with them and stuff like that, which I was a bit skeptical about following my experience, knowing what it takes to actually meet them and all that. I was a bit kind of skeptical about that. So anyway, with my skepticism, I went up to Scotland and I went to his grave and I went to the church and I did psychometry where I went back to the time when he was there and I could hear him talking in the church because the vibration's still there, and everything's as it was, except there's no roof on the church. And his gravestone's on the outside. And you've got people who put all this tat there, like stupid ribbons and Buddhist statues. Respect to Buddhists, but they don't belong there. Robert Kirk wasn't a Buddhist. I don't know why people do that. I just don't know why. It's totally, it doesn't chime with Robert Kirk as a Christian minister, believing what he believed and living his life the way he lived. So anyway, he travelled around Stirlingshire and the lowlands of Scotland, and he collated all these stories of people's encounters with Faery Folk, and from that he derived a treatise and a commonwealth. And he's quite right, there is a commonwealth down there. They have a structure and a society, and it has laws and rules and things like that. And it is within the earth and deep down. So, it's not that unusual, because we've actually only been 8 miles down. I know the earth is nearly 4,000 miles to the center of the earth from the surface. But we've actually only ever been 8 miles down, which is a fraction of 4,000, isn't it?
It is, yes.
So, that's what surprised me when I went down there to see how vast the porous caverns of the litho layer are. You can fly jumbo jets through them. Absolutely vast on a huge scale. So anyway, he went walking on a hill there called Doon Hill next to the church. It was his habit to go walking each night in his pajamas before going to bed. So he was a family man, had a wife and kids and stuff, So anyway, it was while he was out walking on the 14th of May, 333 years ago, that he was found dead on the slope. And he was a very fit man. And I believe it because, having walked around there, you have to be fit, and from to walk all around Stirlingshire and gather these stories, that's a fit man. He was 46 or 47 when he died. So he wasn't in a bad way. And so I cosmically ordered a seance because there's nothing, when you communicate with the spirit, there's nothing to bring Robert Kirk back. There's nothing to bring him back. There's no love. He doesn't know me. Why is he going to turn up? So I said to my spirit guides, friends and helpers, said, look, there's all this nonsense around him that isn't true. What happened to me is a true story, and we need to set the record straight as best we can about the fake, because you got people who create all amazing things, that just are total fabrications and built on and destroy the truth. Really, the truth is far more interesting, by the way. It always is. So the journo in me, I kind of thought, well, I've got to really collate this story. So I thought, well, I've got to have a seance with the man. So I said to the spirit guides, friends and helpers, I'm going to travel all the way up there on the anniversary of his passing on the very evening at the same time. I'm going to be up on the Faery Hill, Doon Hill. I'm going to find a space, and my intention is to sit and to chat with him and do an interview and film it. And could you please invite him to come? I thought, well, even if he doesn't come, I'll have to fall back on psychometry, which is where you pick up on the emanations of a place. And but anyway, I get up there. But just before that, I had a number of visits from the Fae. They throw stones in your house, and stuff like that. And got hit on the head with a stone in the house, and that's a Fae. It's all detritus, They don't mean any harm. It's not to harm you in some way.
Mm-hmm.
It's just they do things, they're moving things around. So this fella turned up in this room where I am now, just here, and a Scottish man he was, and he said, "My name's Bruce," he said. He said, "I'm from Aberfoyle," he said. He said, "When you go there, I'll guide you, right? So you'll recognize me," he said. So I said, "Yes, I had this clairvoyant exchange with this guy." I said, "Yeah, okay." So I thought, well, I'm in good hands, So the spirit world described me a tour guide, if you like.
Yeah.
So I left the church and I walked this very beautiful walk up this, it's called the Manse. It's a trail and very, very beautiful, stunning. And eventually you start to go up a hill, and it's a big hill, the Dune Hill. It's a big hill. It's tree covered. And so off to the left is where there's this tree, which is supposed to be the fairy tree, the fairy minister's tree. And it's festooned in all kinds of icons and things. But Bruce was like, no. Don't go that way, Kevin. It's this way. So he took me to this, there's a little gap in this kind of hedge, and there's a trail. So I followed it. I've got it all on video. I will get around to cutting the video together. So I goes up this kind of hill on the hill. And I thought, am I on another Fae journey? Thinking it's absolutely festooned in Fae, by the way. It's a if ever you want to meet the Fae, you need to go to Dune Hill, and anyway, you can really, really sense it. So I ended up, I came across a tree, a lightning tree, and it was the most amazing thing to see. It was an exploded tree. It had this central sort of piece to it, like a creature like this. It snapped. It looked very reptilian. You can even see the eye on it and everything. You can see that the Fae folk have made this. I think the elemental forces caused a huge lightning bolt to strike that tree, and it's exploded. There's like boulders and what you call like a Fae barrow, and it looked like, and I could see them all sitting around in conference having chats about things, like a meeting place, like you come across a campsite or something. So Bruce said, this is it, sit on the tree. So I sat on the tree, set up my camera, and wasn't much I could do. So nothing was happening. So anyway, I kind of meditated, and first of all, my camera then got struck, like something whacked it. Now, when I play the footage back, the camera doesn't shake, but it's a loud whack. You can hear it. And the camera strap, it was a DSLR. The camera strap is swaying like this. So anyway, so when I played that back at home, you can hear a voice, Scottish voice, say, "Oh," like that. And I think that's the voice of Robert Faye. Why do I keep saying Robert Faye? Robert Kirk, I've played it to a few people, and it gives them the shivers. You can hear the Scottish voice say, "Oh," and it's very gentle. And I think he's very interested in the camera, or the idea. He didn't really understand why he was there. He's like thinking, "What is this?" So he didn't understand why I was there. Didn't understand the camera, what the setup was. So I just said hello, and that's when you get the hello. You get a reply to me, and then an orb appears just here. And the sun's going down, so there's still just enough light. You got like so I'm conscious of time. I don't want to be there at night because what happened in Ireland.
The last time, yeah.
And then I don't feel about a will o' the wisp, but this kind of light come from behind and floated and goes in between the trees. Really fascinating to watch. So I reported all this to the Society for Psychical Research.
Mm-hmm.
They phoned me up and they've invited me to join. And I used to be a bit skeptical about them, but the people I spoke to aren't like the old school ones who said, look, we know there's a spirit world.
Mm-hmm.
We know these things are real. Whereas in the past, it was always an academic thing. They always tried to debunk it. So, but Kevin, it's not like that now. And this report, this stuff that you've given us is really important. And we'd like you to join and, share your knowledge and your encounters, because what you and other mediums experience are very, very real. So that was really refreshing, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
They were quite a skeptical organization. I think they're one of the oldest, if not the oldest, society for psychical research in the world, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, so that was a result. And so Robert Kirk came through and I asked him outright. I said, did the Faery Folk kill you? I said, this is what people want to know. I said, are you aware of all this legend that's built around you about what happened to you and what's supposed to have happened to you? He said, I am. I said, well, I'm here to find an answer. I need to know. I just want to report what you say. Did they kill you? And he said, I don't want to begin with that. So anyway, he took me back to his home. He said, I'll tell you what happened on the day. He said, I prepared the Eucharist, he said, which is the bread or the body of Jesus.
Mm.
He said, and I had a tabernacle at home, which he put it in. He said, my wife was very, very upset. He was showing me because he'd been to London and he retranslated the Bible into Gaelic, and he was away for a year, and his wife was having a baby at the time. And this is a matter of fact, by the way. And she was very upset that his church was calling him away again. She couldn't handle him being away for another year. It was too much out in that isolated community. And it put a lot of pressure on her and him. So he buried it in his faith. And he said, he said to his wife, when I come back, I'll minister the Eucharist to you. And that hopefully will bring peace and clarity to both of us over this journey I've got to go on. And I think he was foreshadowed. I think he felt he was going on a journey, but I don't think he realized it was his death. And so this is what he told me he did. And he had 2 sons, which indeed he does have. He told me he had a dog as well. But why he was showing me all those things was to show me that he had a balanced family life. It was very warm. And the community supported his wife and kids while he was away. But they understood the nature of the ministry and his work as a missionary, if you like. Mm-hmm. And at that time, and this is what I said to him, do you realize that 20 years before you died, we'd have all been burnt at the stake for this? He said, yeah. So, you were living in a very strange time where people were really persecuted. And there was 4 movements in Scotland at the time. There was Presbyterianism, Anglicanism, Roman Catholicism, and the Episcopalian Church. They were all vying for control of people. So he was in the middle of bringing Christianity to Scotland. So he was totally distracted on the night. He said, so I went out on a walk. He said, I was distracted. I had a lot in my head. He said, and then he showed me he was on the floor. He was struck dumb like I was. And I'm not sure, maybe we had the same thing, I don't know. He said, but I couldn't get up. He said, and I had to yield into the spirit world. I said, so did the Fae kill you? He said, they had a hand in it, is what he said.
Wow.
That's what he said. He didn't say they killed them, but he was very specific. He said, they had a hand in my death. I think in some way, when you look at what the Fae can do, in his own book, they can destroy the human body with weapons that don't break the skin. It said.
Yes.
So I think ultimately, they are responsible for his death. And it wasn't because he was revealing their secrets or anything like that. A bit like with myself, you become a prize for them. And I don't know why that is. They like people who have religion or belief or faith in God. To them, if they can take your life, this is the evil in them. You're a great prize for them. And if they can capture your soul and take you. So everyone says he's trapped in the spirit world, you see. So he appeared. The legend is that he said to his brother-in-law, he appeared to his brother-in-law in a vision and said, when my child is born and he's baptized in that church, the church I went into, he said, when I appear, you are to throw an iron knife over my head. He said, if you don't, I'll be trapped with the Fae forever, for all eternity. And from that day to this, everyone says he's trapped by the Fae. So my seance with him put that to bed, because he's not. He's in the spirit world. He's with his wife. He's still with the same wife. And
so not trapped.
No. So I know it's a big story, but that was the outcome of the seances. He put that to bed. He said, no, he said, I'm not with the Fae. No one's trapping me. And I said, do you have any connection to Aberfoyle? He said, no, it was a long, long time ago. I have no connection here. He's moved on 333 years in his life. It's a very long time, really. He's still with the same wife, he told me. And he's happy about my work and what I'm doing. He said, I'm glad to share what I've got. And he wants to speak again, so I may go up there again and hold another seance with him. But what's interesting, though, Michelle, is that I didn't know anything about his church. And when I went back, he would have had a tabernacle at home, and he would have made the Eucharist in advance. It's called reserving the Eucharist. And that is something he would have done. I had no idea about that. It was only in my research that this came about.
I have to ask, when you say, you know, the prize for the Fae would be to take a person of faith. And the reason that I'm asking about it is because when initially, you know, Christianity or the Romans or anybody came in to try to integrate into certain communities, people, I think back in the day, looked at the Fae people as mentors, educators, healers, philosophers. And over time, Christianity, the church started just turning people against them, and then they went underground. So do you think this is sort of and why there's such an intense dislike for people of faith who are trying to convert the people, because they were all fine before this happened, apparently.
They were. There was a greater unity.
Yeah.
But I think that the problem with Fae folk is, this is what I'm telling you. Other people may disagree, but this is just from my experience, my encounters, is I never sense any love from them. I never sense any compassion or care. I think there's a coldness, a creature-like coldness to them, a clinicalness, if you like. Like when I was talking to Robert Fay, the place was awash with Fay. Sorry, I keep saying that name.
Robert Kerr.
Yeah, call him Robert of the Fay.
I'm following along, no problem.
He's Robert of the Fay. So they, so a woman came up towards me when I was sitting on the tree, a stately woman, about 7 feet tall, very, very beautiful. And I was supposed to fall in love with her. This is what they do. They're so beautiful. They can capture people. You know, you become like, wow.
Enamored.
Yeah, unbelievable. They cast a spell over you.
Yes.
Because they understand how the core matrix and the emotions work within the soul. They know how to switch things on and off. And they can make love to you and do all kinds of things. And you feel this presence. But me being a bit cynical, I was a bit cynical. I said, you know, I'm supposed to fall in love with you, ? No, I'm on a mission. I know what I'm doing. But there was no love from her, and I asked her that. And even when I was in Ireland with the Fae folk, I said, look, there's no love here. And this is one of the things I think that puts them at odds, is that they can't really, don't think they can connect with people other than on false terms or as a deception of some kind. Because if you read the stories of people falling in love with Fae folk and having relationships with them, you just get dropped like that, you know. They just move, they're kind of sociopathic. They move on to the next thing. Whatever it takes to get what they want from you, they can be very nice or they can be equally very, very evil, whatever it takes to get the result they want. And I think back in the day, it's a strange one, really. I can really only talk from my own experiences, that I asked the spirit world, I said, what was that all about? You know, what happened to me? Why did I go deep into the poorest caverns of the earth? Why did I see Anubis? Why did I see these orbs? Why was I surrounded by a clan of wraiths? Why were they taking me? What was that all about? You know, this was never in the spiritualist model of the world, you know, that I had. And so I said, I want an answer. And if you ask the spirit world, you will get an answer. And I was taken deep into the spirit realm. And I went back probably around best part of 2,000 years ago, maybe the 5th century, something like that. I'm not really quite sure. Sometime in antiquity, shall we say. And I was a captain on a horse. And I came from, I think, Basque or northern Spain. There was a flotilla of us invaded southern Ireland, because these Faery Folk were running amok on the earth, on the surface of the earth, and they were terrorizing people. And they were, you know, doing the kind of things that I described as happened to me. But they were scaring people, and this didn't fit with, you know, the gift of the earth to the human being, as it were, or you know, that the earth was given to man, if you like, or to us as people to flourish and to live on in the bio realm. And in a way, they were destroying people. They were causing them mental anxiety. They were terrorizing them terribly, or scaring them and things like that. So our mission with the cross of Christ at the time was to invade on horse and chase them into the ground, which is what we did. And I think I was a Milesian in that respect. And the Milesians, the Tuatha De Danann, they were called, or that the Faery Folk were forced into the ground. And I think that's true. So here's the thing, that in this vision that they took me back to, the spirit world said, we'll show you why. And they took me back, and I was this captain. And they said, you met with them. And when you returned to Valentia with a view to opening up a spiritualist church, that just freaked them out, because they don't want people waking up to God and the psychic and the spirit world and those types of things. They don't want that. They want to control the lower nightmare realm, the soul realm, like they were trying to capture my soul. They have dominion down there on the lower astral, the lower nightmare realm. That's their dominion, and they want to keep hold of that. And the longer that they can keep people like us down there, then the longer they get to live, because they know, as it says in the Nag Hammadi text, that they have a limited time. They're made merely of the substance of ether and matter, and will exist only as long as those substances exist. They have no eternal spirit within them. They are not creatures of the immortal spirit. So, and when you challenge them on that, like if you turn around, you say, and here's the thing, I said this to the Society of Psychical Research, that if you invoke the cross or Jesus Christ or the Our Father or the Virgin Mary or holy water, they run a mile. It absolutely terrifies them, anything like that. And there's a reason for that, and I'm going to discuss it in my new book. I think I've discovered the reason why that is. But they were terrified about me when I went back, because they recognized me from that previous incarnation. They went, it's him. We fought him before and we lost. And that's why they brought out the big guns, I was being told. They wanted revenge. They wanted me back. And they've haunted me ever since, by the way. But I'm more than capable of handling it. So I don't know if any of that makes sense to anyone, but
well, of course, yeah.
So, but I didn't. That was never part of my thing. But I was surprised as anyone to find myself with this sword and you know, as a warrior, and you know, going down into the lower nightmare realm, chasing them into the earth. So, what is it a bit like in Lord of the Rings, that you flay the sword,
orcs,
you flay the sword, you throw the holy water, and you know, you say the name of Jesus Christ or whatever we were told to say, and they eventually go into the ground to escape. You can't go above. So angels have wings, you see, whereas they don't. So that's always interesting. They're kind of demons, so they kind of go below, but they are very sophisticated, by the way. And, the other thing they said to me as well down there was, they said, we're on the rise in your world. And that's interesting. Why the Society of Psychical Research picked up my case note was he got onto it straight away. He said there's been a plethora of these cases. He said they're just everywhere.
With the Fae specifically, or just with negativity with the Fae?
Yeah.
Wow.
tied in with poltergeist activity and ET phenomena. It's all kind of coming together. There's a new consciousness and a new truth coming. And this was part of what happened to me, this revelation of knitting these things together instead of compartmentalizing everything. I've seen it as an holistic thing. And it's always been there from the beginning. The story's always been there, and it needs to be retold. They said we have our influences in the corridors of power. They showed me the White House. They showed me the Houses of Parliament in the UK. They said we're in the corridors and everything. Said our influence is there. So I kind of was a bit worried that if my story came out, that I might be contacted by the Men in Black because I'm able to commune with Faery Folk.
Yes.
That's a prize they want. They would love the powers in our world at the top of the pyramid, and that would love to use someone like me to, be a bridge between worlds, to get messages across, because they can't do it themselves.
Or just to control,
The other thing as well, Michelle, is you got a lot of commentators, a lot of people put themselves out there. They make it like with Robert Kirk, they got his name right that time. They put out all these stories, but these are all written by people who've never had any contact. They're not mediums, they're not healers. They've never rescued spirit. They've never gone on to the lower nightmare realm. They've never gone on to the higher astral realm. They've never saw spirit. They've never had the spirit speak through them. And yet they write all these books and all these commentaries on things. And, and people really treat them as if they are priests and cardinals of the truth. And they say, what's so-and-so saying? And, some of them are very, very well known in our world. And I kind of get a bit resentful because I think none of them are mediums. They don't know anything. Or they come out with half-truths or stuff, like, for instance, I don't want to upset people, but anyway, old Ike come out with a video not so long ago saying that we are just batteries for these ETs. And that's that's not true, that we are just batteries for them. I mean, what they crave out of us is the fact that we have an immortal spirit within us, and they don't. For from below they are, and from above we are, as it says in the Nag Hammadi. They are creatures of ether and matter. They have no eternal spirit within them. They're made of they are an intelligence that emerged out of those two substances. So they crave that thing within us, which is our immortal spirit. And this is in the garden story, where they don't understand how Sophia, the divine
God,
can animate Adam. How does he? They can't animate the human flesh. They don't know how it is. They don't understand the spark that comes in and is the animating principle. And that also is what the Fae story, where they try to mate with us to become like us. And because they can't become like us, they try to make us more like them. But they're always trying to find, that's why it's always a sexual union. They're always trying to find that way of merging the two things together in some kind of physiological way. Because they know there's as it says in the documents of the Essenes, it seems to be some kind of magic spell that happens, that when the spark of the spirit enters the soul and the body, it animates the flesh. And that's what the mystery is to them. And you got people like John Lamb. Last you say, the archons, Sophia puts something into the matrix of the human being that they can't crack the genome. Well, the fact of the matter is that they wrote the genome. They are fashioners and maintainers of this and the etheric world. Super intelligent. They can make anything out of anything. And that's what they are. They're
mimickers, are they not? Like they have they can't really create on their own. They need something to manipulate.
That's why they need us, because we have a creativity within us. That's why they were able to replicate my sister. And it's actually in this book. There's a number of changeling stories in here where I've seen replicants of people, and I've since realized in your soul you carry. It's called sympathetic vibration of thought. You carry with you your database, everyone you've ever met, all your past family history going back through the generations, previous incarnations with yourself, and they can pick that out and then replicate a figure from that. And I've seen this, and I saw it with my sister, and I saw it with my other sister as well. they showed me my other sister when I was a kid, and I realized that was a changeling, a replicant of you know, and of them forming my sister. That wasn't my sister. It was them making my sister in every detail, but they built that image from me. You know, so that's what they are. They're fashioners and maintainers of the physical and etheric universe, and they're masters of it. So so I think this whole thing is the whole sort of Fae ET thing needs to be re-looked at. And I think Jacques Vallée is the one who's, I think he was ahead of the game on this. He kind of put this forward in respect of religious experience and so forth. And I think, you know, it's good that he's getting recognition, albeit late in life. But I think there is, talking to the Society for Psychical Research, that was a great light going off in my head when they said, you know, this is like a wider understanding. The guy I spoke to, I was only supposed to have a half-hour phone conversation. It was over 2 hours, and he was fascinated. He sent me stuff with people he's been working with, other authors and other people who've done dissertations on Faery Folk. And there is this growing consciousness, this awareness of this presence in our world that pre-exists the human being. So,
do you think, I mean, primarily because the Fae, of course, you know, we know it's a worldwide thing because there've been sightings everywhere, and the indigenous people might call them little people. There's a lot of different terms for them, a lot of similar experiences, but so much of it seems to have originated, or it's believed to have originated, you know, in the Celtic lands, right? Like the United Kingdom, Ireland, Scotland. I mean, when I was in the Highlands, I visited, you know, the Fairy Glen and the Fairy Circles, and then I know like the Fairy Springs are there, and you know the Fairy King's Grotto, and like it's very, very believed in. And like you go into these circles, and you better leave something, shiny things, you know.
Well, they appear. I got asked by the Society of Psychical Research why they appear in the form they do.
Yes.
And from my experience with them is that they copy us, which is why they appear in human clothes, and they dance and things like that. They try to be like us. They want something that we have, which is our creativity. So say you've got the more like, let's say you've got a group of primates, for instance, and a lion comes into the jungle, into their area or their domain or their area, shall we say. And so what the primates do is they communicate, they make all kinds of noises, and they jump up and down and things like that. Scientists say, well, you know, they've got a vocabulary of like, you know, thousands of words, which I kind of dispute. I don't think chimps and apes converse as such. I think they communicate like rabbits do when they thump the ground when there's danger. It's just communication. Ants do it. So, and I think in some way, I'm not saying the Fae are exactly like that, but there's a similarity in as much as they then, once the lion has gone, they don't then draw up plans or have a meeting about how they could have handled the situation better, right? Don't put in place a strategy to stop it ever happening again, but we do. Things, you see, we theorize about things, and that's not the best example, but it's kind of what you're dealing with Fae is they don't talk to you. You know, when you talk to them, you don't get you can't have a conversation like what we're having. You can't have a discussion. It's all on feelings. And say you ask them a question about things, they only know where they come from, and they only know their God and what created them and what realm they are in, and that's their domain. They have a job to do, and their job really is to, what I saw was them coming up through Yukon Mountain, pouring out onto the earth, looking for human hosts and attaching themselves to people, and basically taking what they can from us, our essence, if you like. Now, what happened to me was, excuse me, I know they took something from me that I'll never get back. And that's what they do. They take something from you. And that's like the nectar. it's like an
Is it part of the life force, the
yeah,
essence?
and you
Yeah.
never get it back. I can't explain it exactly. I know it looks like I've made a full recovery and everything else, but they leave a scar on you and they take something from you, and I swear to God, you never get it back.
Mm.
And that's why I think in the Nag Hammadi books, they're called the robbers. That's another thing for them, the robbers. That's exactly that. Because you ain't getting it back, I'm telling you.
No.
And I wish I'd never had that
do
experience.
you think that they leave, because in some ancient traditions, if an ethereal being takes something for you, they leave something. Do you think it's possible that they exchange and leave a part of themselves with you in order to maybe, so you have a better understanding of them, or so there's always like that connection? They can always find you that way,
Yeah, in terms of an exchange, I would say
like of energy,
what I would say is that I'm much more sensitive to them. I'm
See.
still clairvoyant, but
Yeah.
I see their world now.
Yeah.
I
See.
see another layer of things.
Yeah.
When you see it as clear as I did, in proper, almost solid 3D, as it were,
Yeah.
wasn't in the mind or anything. This was real. They really occupied the space they were in.
Yeah.
When you see that and have that experience, it opens something up in you and your understanding, and it's increased my psychic and spiritual awareness, shall we say.
Which makes me wonder if there was a bit of an energy exchange.
Mm,
It's like you're kind of marked, they take from you, but it's almost like you're marked in a way
yeah,
where they leave that little bit of maybe themselves so they can always find you. And
yeah.
is it something that's done so they know they can communicate with you, vice versa? Like you say, you're tuned in more, because otherwise I would think that they would try to mask themselves or veil themselves from you.
Well, when I go into their realm, or if ever I'm around where they are, went up to the Fairy Barrow recently and took that
Mhm.
picture of the kind of the wolfman sort of guy,
Mhm.
which I think, jumping back to Anubis, I think the werewolf story could be based on Anubis. Because, when I saw Anubis, I thought that's a werewolf. But
Yeah.
no one's ever really made that connection, have they? Half man, half wolf.
There are teachings about it that go back to maybe like Atlantean, Lemurian times, because they spoke even back then of them being able to create hybrids,
Yeah.
the canine human variety. Hence, if how many of them ended up in Egypt after the downfall, let's say after the cataclysm, how is that where Anubis maybe comes from?
Yeah, and he's clever, he's not he's clever, and
Yeah.
his consciousness or his connection is very, very deep, very Anunnaki. So you're going deep into the universe with that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you try to blend with his mind in some way,
Yeah.
it comes from somewhere that's very, very old,
See.
very pre-existent,
Mm-hmm.
very pre-primordial, even something at the very beginning, the embryonic waters of the creator's womb, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
Something that emerged out of the waters, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
of the initial womb. And I think that's where, to do a specific job.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, and if Anubis was to appear in our world, I think he'd be more an etheric thing, ephemeral. You'd be able to put your hand through him, sort of thing, but you'd still feel his power.
Mm-hmm.
He's an imposing figure. And I don't think there's ever be any reason for him to materialize on the earth anyway. His job is where he is now, at
Yes.
the
Yes.
gateway to the next life, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you feel taken over by the spirit, and they talk to you in ways that they want to talk to, like with the guy at the side of the hedge. He couldn't come into the field, and I wondered why they couldn't come into the field. And when I went back at Christmas, just gone, I retraced my steps and everything, and the hedge is made of hawthorn, a hawthorn hedge, and they can't pass through hawthorn.
Mm.
So I thought that was interesting, and also the gates were iron gates, and they can't pass through iron because iron represents where we're digging deep into their realm, you know, going down. They don't like the mining and those types of things. So there's a mine on the island. It's a slate mine. It's very big. It's like Mordor in Lord of the Rings. It's got a big sentinel slate thing, and it's on the side of the mountain. There's two triangular entrance go deep into the mountain. When I went this time, all the times I've been there, never felt this before. So coming back to what you say about it's just new things, maybe they've given me something. When I opened the car door, I was literally pushed over by the magnetic energy. And what they've done when they've opened up these two huge slate mines in the side of the mountain of the island, it's like two gaping wounds, and energy just pouring out. And I don't think the Fae like that at all. You can really feel it. It's very, very dark, very sinister. I think there's quite a lot of phenomena associated with that. So you do get these energies, these nodal points, if you like. And I think coming back to the gates in the field, because we have metallurgy and things like that. If you remember on the cottage photograph, there's an iron horseshoe over the door because they don't like those things. My grandmother used to say sleep in the bed with it in that cottage, funny enough, with a horseshoe in the bed so the Fae won't snatch you.
Well, that's the iron.
Yeah.
Wayne says hawthorn has often held magical properties throughout many people and cultures going back centuries. And I find this interesting as well. When a yellow jacket wasp stings you, they leave something in the skin that stays with you and identifies you to other wasps that you are a threat. So maybe you were marked as being a threat.
Yeah, I would say so. But they definitely had me marked from when I first got there.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of phenomena leading up to the trip as well.
Yes.
But the main thing was the appearances, and I never mentioned it to anyone on the island. I did say to some of the people who live along the unclaimed road, I said, you know, you're living on the most haunted road in Ireland, and they kind of laughed, but they laughed in that way of kind of, yeah, we know. They looked at me just to say, you know, you must have saw something. So there was, I took a photograph of some sort of streaking stars directly over the cottage on the night. There's in one frame. I couldn't see them properly with my naked eye, but I just thought I've got to get a shot of the sky because it's stunningly clear, you know, being right next to the Atlantic Ocean. And you got these little streaks, and all the time kept thinking, I'm just being watched all the time. And I think it comes back to that Milesian dream that I had, that I was this kind of warrior, and I defeated them once before, and they were terrified. They recognized me from back then.
Yes.
And I think you carry things from another life into this life. But they are in our world, and I think there are people in our world who don't have a spirit in them. I think there are some people who are Fae, who just have a soul and a body. They know what to say, and they know how to behave, and they can mimic the human being. And I think some of them are become leaders of the world and things. And there are some people I meet or I see. You know, I've interviewed some famous people in my time. One of them was Andy Burnham, who's a metro mayor, and he may be the next prime minister of the country. I don't know. I don't think so, but he's prime ministerial material. Spent the day with him, and I could find no spirit in the man. I just thought there's nothing there. There's no connection. There's just like a darkness in him. You know,
they call them non-player characters.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And he knows what to say and what to do. So I interviewed him actually for the BBC, funny enough. And I don't really work for the BBC, but I do occasionally. I got this gig to film him and interview him for the BBC. So I went off script. The minute I went off script, he suddenly became very inarticulate, didn't know what to talk about. And, you know, saw the limit of his intelligence in that point. So there are people who they lack a spirit within them, that there's no I think when they pass or they die, I think they go to the lower nightmare realm. And I've seen people Like in the book, there's a chapter in this where I rescued a gangster,
Mm.
and if I hadn't rescued him, I think he would have become what we would call a wraith, where they become unrecognizable. It says this in the Bible. They become unrecognizable, like Cain. They roam within the earth like vagabonds. And that's exactly what you're dealing with. So I was able to get to him, and I told him that he'd passed away at home. I said, "It's me, Kevin. Remember me?" I don't hang around with gangsters. I just happen to know this guy. And it was lucky for him that he knew me. So he, when he saw it was me, I said to him, "You've died. You're in the spirit world. You died at home. You dropped down dead in the hallway." Bang! I came straight out of that. And then I got a message a week or two later from a spiritualist medium saying, "I've got Jimmy here." He said he would have been a real reprobate when he was on the earth, would have spent time in jail. He said he's come back to say he's grateful to you. I don't know what he did, but he's very grateful. I said, "Yeah, I think I know who you mean now." So I took it as being him. So, but we can become like that ourselves. We can become unrecognizable. We must be careful. Must try and lead a good life. And you see people, killing people and, doing all kinds of terrible things in this world. And you think, if only you knew where you go to, because you don't go to the spirit world when you behave like that. You go to the lower nightmare realm, and that's where they are. They have dominion down there. That's their realm. I know it sounds a bit heavy, but it needs to be said.
No, yeah, I completely agree with you. There's definitely places where people wander, even just through, if you're not careful, just for having out-of-body experiences.
And there are people, Michelle, who really want to conjure these things up. And they want to dwell with them, and they want to do all these ceremonies. But if you knew what you're dealing with, it's only because I was a spiritualist medium. I was able to handle. I know who I am and why I'm here. I said to them, I come from the pre-existing God and not the abomination that made you. You are not the means by which I enter the spirit world. And then they're frightened by that.
Yes.
You have to know who you are and where you are from. And a lot of people, they just think it's fun to mess with demons and stuff like that, and you've got to be very, very careful.
I agree. It's just, it's like poking the bear, but let's just poke an invisible bear instead. See how that works out.
Yeah, once they get into that core matrix of you, it's you can't really get them out. As I say, they leave scars. That's why in the Nagamadi, they're called the robbers. They take something from you that you will never get back. And believe me, honestly, I don't really think I think it was worth it. I accept it as happening to me, but there's also a side of me that wishes I could just turn the clock back. But you can't unsee what you see.
No, and you feel like you've been robbed somehow of certain, times that were just spent, always having eyes in the back of your head with these things, and they mark you.
I mean, I as you can see behind me, I've got music paraphernalia. I went to music college and everything, fairly accomplished musician, and I lost all that. Couldn't play. I come back and I was like, I've lost my job and everything. Thought, what is going on? They break you. You get broken.
That's the idea, though. Make you desperate. Take everything from you.
My sister phoned me up, in the middle of when I was like really at a bad time, and I said, if I'd known I was coming back to this, I'd have stayed asleep on the mountain.
Yeah.
Come back.
It's a tough one. I'm so grateful that you came to. I know it's so late for you, and I'm so.
I know. I always can't. I know. I'm always high strangeness. I know that.
I love it though. I love it. I'm going to put the book cover back up as well. I love it. And where can people find the book? I know there's Amazon UK, and I put the link in the write-up of the show.
Oh, thank you. And there's also they can buy it off the website, which is valentiapress.com.
Okay,
they can
perfect.
Contact me there. They can get or if you just want a PDF version of it, I think it's only a few dollars for that, and it's not as expensive as the book. I mean, Amazon kind of set the price on the book. There'll be an audio version of it and an ebook version of it as well coming out. So it's actually doing quite well at the moment. I'm getting quite a bit of traction with it. It's basically, just to summarize it, I know we didn't talk about it. Basically, it's my encounters, true files from a medium's casebook. It's all the things I've been involved in over the years. I've actually compiled the cases because, working in TV and compiling stories for broadcasts and stuff, I did the same with, my experiences. I just always was impinged by the spirit world to record these things.
Yes.
And to pass on these things so that people have an understanding. Because otherwise, these experiences are lost, these psychic science things, and why things happen, poltergeist activity, why young people, or particularly young girls, are predated upon by spirits. Kind of, there's a reason behind that, and not many people understand it, but I've put a plausible explanation in there, and so on. So it deals with all my cases, including straight into the area of mind parasites. The way our parasites, biological parasites, demons in biological form. Yes. There's a piece I put on that. I might have mentioned last time to you, but I've done a section on that as well. The spirit world give me a download on that. It's very interesting. Read that, because they do the same job. They control people's minds and stuff. There's something going on in the world, Michelle, and we all need to start this dialogue. Need to read these things, keep reading more and more, and share, and have shows like this where we can discuss these things and spread the understanding. Because the spirit world will teach you and will show you and will give you the download and give you the answers that you need. You don't have to ask. You always get an answer from the spirit. They'll give you. You might just be, doing the garden or something. Think, I've just suddenly got the answer to the core matrix of the human soul. It's just come to me right now of all the time. You just never know. It's when you switched off and you're on like an autopilot sort of thing. Yeah. But research Robert Kirk anyway. And his stuff. There's a lot of rubbish spoken about him. So the next book I'm still working on title. The working title is A Modern Dialogue with a Clan of Wraiths, but I think they've changed it to a new fairy treatise or something. It's more like a treatise, So it seems to be getting a lot of support for that. So I'm hoping that's
people are very interested in wraiths. So I think that you would do really well even with that title, because they're not common. But people have had experiences with them and they're trying to research them, but there's just not enough information out there.
Yeah, they said, and my brother died last year, my youngest brother, and at my back door, a banshee appeared.
Oh boy.
She's about maybe say about 4 feet tall. I know some people say they're very
high-strung little things.
Yeah, and she wasn't singing or anything, but I saw her. It gave me a fright. I went, wow. It was like this kind of medieval sort of 6th century woman.
Yes.
Very, very short, and just disappeared. And I knew straight away, Spirit World said, that's a banshee. And I got a phone call next day saying my brother had died. So the banshee isn't really a bad thing in a way. I've got some compassion for banshees, My grandmother on the island was a medium, and I just wish she, I could have these conversations with her, because she
knew. That'd be fascinating.
Yeah.
Really would, I'm glad you still kept the place.
Well, no, we don't own it. I rented it off someone. Yeah, Don.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Maybe if I make enough money, I'll be able to go back and buy it.
Yeah, maybe.
It's incredibly haunted, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a little bit of a perk, but anyway.
Yeah. It's proper haunted, yeah.
But thank you for joining me. It was just such a pleasure, and we'll have to do it again sometime. You're always welcome. I love to hear all of your stories and your experiences. And for those of you who are all in the chat room, thank you very much. Like I say, you always make it that much more fun. I appreciate all of your comments and your questions. Tomorrow night, we welcome for the first time Sir Brian Bowden, and we're going to be having a really in-depth, deep dive discussion into dogmen. So I've had a lot of requests to do a show on dogmen. So here it is. We're going to do it. And we hope that you guys will enjoy it. So we'll have to see you guys in the chat room. So big thank you, of course, to my fantastic guest tonight, Kevin O'Doherty. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks to everyone in the chat. listening to my accounts of things. Thank you very, very much.
It was fantastic. Great to have you. Also, thank you, Folgers Coffee. Thank you to Justin Snicker. Thank you to Steve McGinnis. And of course, you have been listening to The Outer Realm here on the United Public Radio Network, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 FM from the Gulf Coast, and 107.7 FM from New Orleans. I see the producers in the house because I'm seeing all those freaking comments coming up. And it's not me, just saying. Anyway, thank you all. Good night, and we shall see you guys tomorrow night.